Welcome back to Old Guy REI. In this episode of Workman Confessions, which I think will be titled, Should We Just Quit? I'll get back to that. But I was thinking about when I started this channel, my wife and I, it's been about a year and a half or so. And originally, I was talking with one of my friends, Dion, and the crazy thought popped into our heads about, if we don't leave a digital footprint, were we ever really here? And at the time, he and Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time were urging people to start a YouTube channel. And it could be about anything, anything that interests you, anything that's important to you. But for us, we thought, well, it would be kind of cool to document our journey. Maybe our kids will look back on it one day and see what we were doing, during this time, and how things were going. And then it kind of turned into, after being in this community for a while, it turned into wanting to help other investors by sharing our experiences, good and bad. And that's been key. Sometimes it's hard to share the bad stuff because you don't want to turn people off, because it can be amazing and it can work for a lot of us. Sometimes it takes a while, and I think in our journey we've had a lot of good, we've had a lot of bad and ugly. Right now we're going through some ugly. We have a couple of rentals that were vacant waiting for new tenants. One of them we did a rehab on. We evicted the tenant. We did a rehab. The rehab cost about $5,000. And so we got through that. They had a tenant ready to move in, another Section 8 tenant. But we had to get Section 8 inspections done before they could move in, and their approval, of course. So we had the Section 8 inspection done. There were a couple of things that happened. The inspector wanted a couple of things fixed, but besides that, somebody had gone there and broken one of the windows in the bedroom. So that was bad news. They had a contractor come out. They measured the glass. They were going to be able to just replace the glass instead of replacing the whole window. The tenant was still on board, so they boarded up the window, and they took their measurements. And then when they came back to install the glass, somebody had pulled the plywood off and gotten in again and caused more damage. They actually, the main electrical panel is in a bedroom, and they took it apart. They damaged the sheetrock below it so they could get to the wires, and they cut all the wires. And originally the property manager thought that they did that for the copper, but as I looked at the photos, there was still some copper there. And so we were wondering, did the tenant that got evicted send somebody back to just cause mischief and cause us to have to spend more money to get the place back in shape. They cut one of the lines feeding the water heater, so there was water spraying in the basement. And that happened when the property manager went there that day. He said he went to open the door and he heard banging inside, so he didn't go in. He called the police right away. It took them almost an hour to get there, by the way. And the person had fled before they got there. And I understand the property manager not wanting to go in. He even mentioned he didn't have any weapons or anything, and he didn't want to get beat up for a few dollars in copper. So that's understandable. But anyway, so it's pretty big, right? Because we spent, like I said, we spent $5,000 getting it ready, and now I don't know what that's going to cost. With the repairs to the electrical panel, plumbing repairs, a couple of windows, because they did break another window while they were in there. So it's pretty, I don't know if it's defeating or deflating, or maybe it's both, but so my wife and I talked about it, and we're just going through some options. And I think maybe making this video, talking through it, might give us a little clarity. But our first thought was maybe we should sell it. If we got back close to what we paid for it, then use that money to probably pay down some of the credit cards that have kind of built up, because over the last years, or 1 year, we spent a lot of money on the units that we have, fixing them up and making things better. So we could use that money to pay off the credit cards. And it's a shame, because it took us a bit to get to where we're at. Whatever amount of doors we have now, and we were happy with the property. We liked the way it turned out. It was a turnkey that we bought from a turnkey provider in Illinois. But anyway, getting back to my thoughts. So I contacted the turnkey provider that we bought it from, just to see if he would be interested in buying it back. And I'm waiting to see what he thinks. He's going to go in and assess the repairs, and then he'll be able to make us an offer based on what he sees. So that's one option. And the other option is the property manager is getting estimates to let us know how much it would cost to fix the things that were damaged. And I imagine it's going to be probably close to another $5,000. So do we get the repairs done and keep moving forward, trying to find another tenant? Because obviously the first tenant had to move on because it's taken too long to get things in shape for them to move in, and risk having the place vacant again for a little while and having that person come back and do more damage. And then, so those things are in motion. Those are my thoughts so far. And then yesterday I got a call, because the other unit that we have vacant is the one in Gary, Indiana, and that had a rehab. That one, the tenant moved out. They weren't paying. They were about to be evicted, but they moved out on their own. So I think they were having problems there in the neighborhood, and that's why they ended up deciding to move. But they moved out. We rehabbed it. I think that one was maybe a couple thousand to rehab. But then I get a call from the PM yesterday saying they were waiting to show the unit to an applicant. The applicant arrived a bit early and noticed that the side door had been kicked in. So she took a photo and sent it to the property manager and didn't go in. Obviously, that was pretty smart. So I was praying that they didn't just go in and cause damage. There was nothing really to steal in there, because it was just rehab. There's nothing in there. So, there's another probably $600 or $800 to replace that door. And as I mentioned earlier, we spent all our money. We don't really have, whatever this is going to be, we don't have that money just sitting around right now. So I think you go through I guess, a range of emotions. Like, first was, should we just sell? And then later on, you get, well, I did anyway. I got, I guess, mad, and you think, I'm not going to let this stop me. We have made it through a lot of ugly to this point in our investing career, but part of me wonders, when do you stop throwing good money after bad? And should we keep trying? So I think maybe, excuse me, that's where you come in. Maybe you could give me some suggestions, give me your thoughts. Maybe you think of it a different way that might help us keep moving forward. So I'll be looking for your comments out, and any suggestions that you might have that might help us. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. Also hit that like button, don't forget.